Here we go.
Okay.
All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. Steve Duffy here, and I have another guest for you to, you get to pick her brain just like I'm going to. Today we're with Dr.Mari Sawai. She's a naturopathic doctor here in Waterville, and she has actually opened a practice here, Comprehensive Health Institute, and she opened up the office here about 2 years ago. And previously, she had studied at Arizona State University, in which she earned her bachelor's in applied biological sciences and became the youngest graduate of Southwest College of Naturopathic Medicine at only 25. Okay, so she had her very own healing experience with fasting in medical school, and we want to hear all about that, Dr. Mari.
Yeah.
And she went on actually to open Omizu Healing Sanctuary in Hawaii, and there she had specialized in water fast, advanced detoxification, and IV therapy, and has overseen hundreds of fasts and helped many people, countless people, reverse so-called incurable disease that plague most of our culture. So now she's the owner of Maine Comprehensive Health Institute, which I mentioned, where she offers proven integrative healing protocols from detox to hydrotherapy, nutrition and lifestyle coaching. So, Dr. Mari, we can't wait to hear all about what you're doing, and yeah, hello.
Hello. Okay. Thanks for that great introduction.
Excellent. Well, yeah, it sounds like you have a lot to talk about, and yeah. So, briefly, can you just tell us what got you interested in natural health? It seemed like you knew what you wanted to do right off the bat when you were very young.
Yeah, I started young, yeah. I knew I wanted to go into a field of natural medicine. I originally wanted to go into veterinary medicine.
Really?
But as I got older and more mature, I think, human beings' health became more important. And the field of veterinary medicine wasn't really going forward as far as like natural therapies. And I actually, it seems like the School of Naturopathic Medicine kind of like fell in my lap. So I like stumbled upon it. I didn't even know there was a school for naturopathic medicine. Like many people, I didn't even know about naturopathic medicine. I just knew that I liked more natural therapies and things like that. And so when I found out about this school, I was like, oh my gosh, that's like exactly what I wanted. And I went there and it was like, just everything that I wanted. So yeah, so that's how that started. I mean, how I got into natural medicine is probably more based on my mother. She's very much like a drink your herbal teas, don't go to the doctor type of parenting style, which is great. And so I was always brought up that way, and that's what I knew. And then I observed the Western medical practice from my grandparents' treatment. My grandpa was pretty sickly. He had heart disease and things like that. And I think you had like a similar experience with some of your parents where, the system really failed them. And so I saw that. And so that became a part of why I wanted to go and study the way that I was studying. As far as getting into fasting and detoxification, which I would say is like my extreme love and passion. One, because I think it's so accessible to everybody. It's basically, our God-given right to fast, right? You don't have to have anything, right, in order to do it. And it's one of the most powerful healing modalities that you can use. But for me personally, I struggled with constipation for my entire childhood, where I wouldn't go for 4 days, which I didn't even know was not normal, right? Because nobody talks about poop, and how would you know? So I did my first green juice cleanse when I was in naturopathic medical school, and ever since that, I've been as regular as clockwork. And things have only got better as I've gone more into my field, but I was just amazed at how much I could change things in 5 days.
Wow.
It'd been this way for so many years, and in 5 days I pretty much changed that. And so that's amazing and super powerful. And so I just started really studying fasting.
Yeah, it sounds really powerful, and I am actually new to it. I've known the power of it for a long time, but I also know the power of habit and the power that food can have over you. So it is something that in our culture, if you haven't really practiced it in the past, it can be very difficult to get going on that. Real quick, I just want to welcome our guests. We do have a couple guests. I want to invite you to pipe in with your comments or questions. If this is the first time you've been to the show, please just type new in to the comments there. And we want to engage with you. We definitely want to hear your experience with fasting or detox. And this interview is going to go 30 minutes. So at 5:30, we will be done. So we want to respect Dr. Mari's time. And, this is kind of a busy time of day for a lot of folks. So, all right. So, yeah, that's awesome. I'm really glad to hear how that healed you. And I look forward to experiencing that for myself.
Yeah, Laura was saying that you are thinking about doing a cleanse. So I'd love to help you in whatever way that I can.
I'm way overdue for sure. So we'll just go there.
Yeah, and most people are. Most people haven't gone a day in their life without eating.
Yeah, and that's the thing in our modern American culture. 3 meals a day, just constantly strung together and no interruptions in that. That is not natural. If you look at
so I tell you, most of the feedback I get from my cleansers or the people who do the reboot program with me is that they realize like how much we actually like overconsume and how much they eat when they're not hungry, and these people are over 30. Most of the people who are cleansing with me are over 30. Some are in their 60s, and they've never gone a day without eating, and they are shocked, right? Shocked that first of all you can live through a day of not eating. Most people think you're gonna die or blow away in the wind or something. But yeah, then they really come to realize like how much we eat and eat and eat when we're really not hungry, and those signals get lost because our society is all centered around food.
Right, it is. And I do want to actually touch on that, on the problem a little bit more, because with a little bit of research into GMOs and stuff like that, it's easy to see that, plenty of research has shown that glyphosate, which is the main herbicide used for GMOs, which actually GMOs encompass like 80% of the American diet now.
It's also in Roundup, so stop using Roundup.
Yeah, right. So that's all over our food, and we're consuming that. So from what I understand, I think it's like 97% of Americans have shown in studies to have glyphosate in their blood. And even worse, the World Health Organization, or a branch of the World Health Organization, has classified glyphosate as a very likely cause of cancer. So,
and it's passed from mother to child as well, so it continues on.
Okay, and there we're only talking about one chemical.
Yeah.
But we are bombarded in our lifestyle. Every consumable product in American culture is pretty much supplied. If we go mainstream consumable products, whether we're talking personal care, food, or medicine, all of those products are supplied by the chemical industry. And the chemicals that we're exposed to through those consumable products are amazing, not to mention our environmental toxins. So
yes, the list is very long.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it just kind of makes sense that so many people are sick in our culture.
Are toxic, yep.
Toxic.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and I get a lot of patients asking me, like, how do I avoid these things? And obviously, there are big ways you can avoid, right? Like checking your shampoo, conditioner, your deodorant, your laundry detergent, all the things that go on your body on a regular basis. But also, you can't live in a bubble, right? Like, you can't live in a bubble. We live in kind of a toxic world. And so, the best defense for people is to really make sure that you're detoxing on a regular basis, right? Making sure that your 5 major ways of detoxing are open. So,
Absolutely. And that's just the one last thing I want to touch on here is something else that I read, and I'd like your feedback as a professional. Uh, Almost all chronic disease is caused, tell me if this is true, is caused by one being toxic and two being undernourished.
yeah, I would say that probably inflammation is the biggest cause of disease, and I think that toxicity is one of the causes of inflammation.
Okay.
Being undernourished, I think it's hard to say that anyone in the US is really undernourished, because I think if anything, we're in excess of food. But I think when you mean nourished, you mean like nutrients and vitamins and such.
Right.
So yeah, like those things, our food is lacking in some of the things like magnesium and like core nutrients. So yeah.
The micronutrients and yeah. And
Yeah.
so, okay, we've definitely expanded on the problem, and now everybody knows that they really need to do something to get healthy. So,
Yep.
so yeah, you've had the experience with one 5-day fast of actually curing what was a chronic issue, but could have been something to plague you for your whole life.
Yep.
Um, so it's no wonder that you specialize in detox. Okay, now since our American culture revolves around food and we eat too much and never go without a meal, what can we expect when we start a detox? Because I'm sure that in your office you do things in a particular way, but if somebody were to just skip food altogether for tomorrow, what kind of
So I wouldn't recommend just skipping food randomly, because then you'll just be really, like say you try doing it for one day and then you decide not to and you just eat crap, right? Because you're hungry. So I would like really plan for it. But detox symptoms, like the most common detox symptoms is a headache. Headache happens to like 100% of people. And some people's it only lasts 2 minutes. And for some people, it's longer and they'll get headaches that last for the whole day, mild headaches. But generally, detox symptoms come in waves. They kind of come and go. Like the phrase I always tell people is like, this too shall pass, everything will pass. Other really common detox symptoms would be like kind of like a stomach ache. If you're doing a water fast or a longer cleanse, a lot of like flu-like symptoms are detox symptoms, like feels like a stiff neck or a stiff low back, like when you're getting like a cold or flu. Those are really common as well. You get a tongue coating, like a white tongue coating, and that stays with you the whole time you're not eating food. So I can always tell if people cheat because the moment you eat food, tongue coating is gone.
okay.
Body odor is really common. Like whenever I cleanse, like I just get one really smelly armpit. But like some people get more stinky feet or things like this. Your breath can smell. You can have dark urine, right? Because a lot of heavy metals come out in your urine. So those are probably the most common. Skin rashes. If you're somebody who's prone already to skin issues, then that might be a way that your body is getting toxins out. So skin rashes, sometimes acne, but less common. Yep.
Okay. So just to kind of understand, I know when we stop eating, I'm trying to understand the biological process, what happens during a detox a little bit, because I think when we understand that, it can really help us to take the actions that we need to. But besides like just going hungry and your body's pulling out toxins. What exactly is happening, like with our liver?
So the really healing component of cleansing or fasting is that your digestive tract kind of turns off. And so when we're eating and digesting food, 80% of our body's energy is going towards digestion. 80%, which is huge, right? So there's only 20% left for you to function, use your brain, all these other things, right? Because your digestive tract is 30 to 35 feet of muscular tube, and you got to use those muscles to digest food. You also have to make digestive enzymes, and that costs your body a lot of energy. So there's a lot of energy going into that. So when you're not eating, all that energy goes towards what I call house cleaning, right? So what happens while we're eating is the laundry is piling up in the house, right? And so when we stop eating, we're able to do that housework, if you will, and clean out things that needed to be detoxed out. And your body's also able to use that energy to do repair, so to do that healing process. And when we're constantly digesting, we never are able to do that, right? And that's really, we get backed up so much that then people get things like chemical sensitivities because they're so congested and they can't detox anymore. So that's happening. Your digestive tract is resting. Also ketosis, which is getting a lot of publicity now, a lot with the ketogenic diets, which are high fat. But you go into ketosis when you're cleansing. For men, it takes 72 hours generally, and for women, it's shorter, like 48 hours. And when you go into ketosis, your body basically switches from using glucose, or like our food, for fuel, and switches into burning fat for fuel. And that is really a healing component. These ketones we know now. So you may have always heard that your brain can only run on glucose, which is not actually true. Your brain can run on glucose, and it can also run on ketones. And ketones are similar to, like, you could compare them to jet fuel and regular fuel. So ketones really are cleaner burning energy. You get a lot more energy out of a ketone body than you do out of glucose. So when you are cleansing and then you hit that, when your body switches into ketosis, a lot of people feel this like really great euphoric feeling. Your mind feels really clear. Your body, your muscles feel good. And that's why people continue to do it. You know, like most people who do my program will do it again and again, or they'll do it on their own at home. And it's because you do feel really good when you cleanse. There's a mechanism. So we know these ketone bodies also help to heal and protect the brain. The ketogenic diet is really popular for people who've had traumatic brain injury, for people with Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative diseases. And so there's so much to being in ketosis that's healing and that we don't even know about. But the things that we do know about it are amazing. It almost seems like a miracle, right? Like what your body can actually, so much self-healing goes on.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And yeah. Anybody who is watching live or the recorded version of this, stick around, because Dr. Mari is going to give us a little protocol that we can do at home. And Dr. Mari, certain people probably would benefit. I'm sure everybody would benefit more by having professional oversight when they do their cleanse. But is there anybody who should not do a cleanse on their own without medical supervision? Or
yeah, so there are some people who shouldn't fast, and that would be like people with type 1 diabetes, people with who have had previous strokes or heart attacks. They should never do a cleanse on their own, because you can throw clots during a fasting time. People who have had eating disorders should stay away from fasting. It's not a healthy situation for them. Yep. And then people who are pregnant or nursing.
Right.
And that's just because you don't want to be detoxing while you're growing a fetus or feeding a baby.
Which absolutely makes sense.
Yeah.
So,
other than that, though, I mean, fasting is an amazing therapy, a curative therapy for many people with type 2 diabetes, especially when it's adult onset and it's because you're obese. Hypertension is one of the things that is really, really commonly healed by water fasting. There's a water fasting center in California called True North, and they put out a study where 100% of the people in the study came off, and so these were people with severe hypertension where they're medicated, and 100% of them were able to come off medication, which you never get this kind.
All of them?
All of them.
That's amazing.
So True North, they have this paper that they put out, and they were actually, because of that paper, they were able to get a, I believe it was an oil pumping company to send all their employees there as like a health thing. Yeah. So with insurance would pay for it. So anyway, fasting is this very, very useful thing for things that are illnesses that are very relevant to today, right? Heart disease, diabetes are number one illness right now. And so, and hypertension, I would say, is right up there in the top 5,
Yeah, and it's amazing when you consider the side effects associated with the medications that people are using to manage those illnesses on a daily basis.
Statins, just to talk, statins, I think most people don't understand that it's a very, very common side effect to have muscle pain and weakness on statins, which decrease your cholesterol, but you could just change your diet and that is much more effective or just as effective as medication without, muscle pain for the rest of your life.
Yeah, that's amazing. And yeah, I reject the idea that people would rather take a pill and just have their symptoms go away. I know that as Americans, we like to keep things simple, and detox can be a little uncomfortable. But I think if more people knew that this was an option to actually get them off of the medication, that they would be motivated and encouraged,
I think the barrier to more people doing something like this for themselves is fear. I think a lot of people are scared of not eating. It's somehow in our minds that if you don't eat for one day, that you're really damaging your body, or that something really bad is going to happen. And I think once people get past that and are able to understand that, no, actually you're going to feel really good. It's shocking to them, but then they're like inspired by that and they want to come back to it. And so, I really get my patients, especially the ones who have great success, I try to have them share, because when you hear it from someone else, it gives you that reassurance. And then I do find, that people are more open to doing it. But yeah, the pills are easy, But
that's the thing. We need, as far as our healthcare goes, I think that we need more doctors or professionals to be that encouraging kind of coach, that is giving people hope that you can actually heal this and you can go on to have a long, healthy life still.
Yeah.
You have some steps you can take to reverse this disease.
I think one of the biggest things, you were telling me, earlier is like, a lot of people don't know about naturopaths. And I think one of the things that naturopaths, and in school, we're still really taught, and it's really ingrained in us, being a teacher, that, most of your job really is to just educate your patients, because that's what really empowers people. But it's time consuming, right? Like, it's time consuming to explain to people why this is going to work and why they should do it. Whereas I feel like in Western medicine, a lot of that's been lost. And I hear a lot of that complaint from my patients is that, the doctors don't have time, right? But they're not getting, they're not learning from their doctors. And that's like one of our main roles, is to be a teacher and to help people understand their own health so they can be empowered in their own health. So.
Exactly. And, as far as the teaching part goes, as far as I understand right now, most doctors working within, the insurance paradigm and everything, there's no code to bill for consulting. They get paid for the service they provide. So, if you're, dealing with somebody who's dying, a doctor is not getting paid to have that compassionate bedside manner that somebody needs at that moment.
Yeah, and so the healthcare system is pretty broken. I will say though that I do take insurance. I take Cigna and Aetna, so I'm in network with them, which is really awesome because my patients just have to pay a copay. And when I do the 10-day reboot, people who have those insurances, I do code for it. I code for nutrition counseling.
Okay.
And weight loss programs. So there are codes for them, whether or not the MDs or the Western medical practices, like in the hospitals, I don't think the time is made, right? They have this 15-minute slot for you and that's it. They can't learn your name, right? But I think we're moving in the right direction. I think more people are getting aware, and, you doing things like this, I think really make a difference, and hopefully people, raise awareness.
Well, we have a free flow of information now that is completely new to the American, or not just American, but to the human race.
Yep.
Which is very exciting. And I want to thank Facebook publicly for this platform, giving us the opportunity to do this.
Yep.
Yeah, I know we only have a few people here, and we're getting down to the end of it. So I just want to encourage anybody who is watching live to go ahead and, if you have any questions about detox, please feel free to ask. If you have any questions directly for Dr. Mari pertaining to your situation, obviously it has to be pretty general.
Well, so if any questions pop up, I'll definitely answer them. But I wanted to answer you kind of said, is there like something that people can do at home if they don't have the means to be, see somebody and be guided through a cleanse? And so I think the best and the safest thing to do is juice fasting.
Okay.
Fasting and a 3-day fast, anyone can do safely. Like, even if you're somebody with like a health condition, you don't have to stop any medications or do anything like that. You can keep on with all that stuff and do juice. I would generally say doing a fresh squeezed juice, 12 ounces, 4 times a day. And anything you can do for liver support. So at your health food store, there's always like liver support teas, like liver cleanse supplements. So I would go with something like that during the time that you're doing the juice, and after for about a week, because you'll still be cleansing after. If you don't feel like you're totally up to doing a juice cleanse, then you could just do a raw food diet for a couple of weeks. Just raw foods, like taking out the processed food and the sugar and the dairy and the gluten, that alone makes people detox pretty hard, especially if you're like somebody who's consuming an average American, like standard American diet right now, and you're eating fast food and things like that. Just taking those things out of your diet for 2 weeks will help your body to detox. And you may get some of those like cold and flu type feelings, and you should understand that that's a cleanse. The other thing is really important when you're cleansing at home is water drinking. So you want to be drinking like 100 ounces a day. So I always tell people, you take your 32-ounce ball jar and you chug that sucker 3 times a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon, once in the evening, and in between you drink whatever water you can. So those are my tips for people if they want to try doing this at home. I think those are the most important things to hit. If you have the means or the time, I think doing a long cleanse, like, my program is 10 days, doing something like that is well worth your while, especially if you've never done a cleanse before, can literally be life-changing. I've seen it so much. So if you're looking for,
because you get older, and then so many people just feel like whatever condition
I'm tired because I'm old. I ache because I'm old, and I'm like, you're 50. What do you mean? Like, like there's people who are 50 out there like running marathons, and you know what I mean? Pain is not part of aging. And that's, and neither is fatigue. Fatigue is not part of aging. So, yeah, it's good to understand those things.
Yeah, because, I don't know, when we get to be 70 or 80, we'll look back and say, oh my gosh, I was so young at 50. I just didn't notice because I wasn't.
And most of us are going to live to 70 or 80. So you might as well live it pain-free and as energetic and happy as possible. And the best way to do that is to take care of your temple.
Absolutely. Wow, this has been very informative. So we got some takeaways that we can go to town with right away. Juice fast of 3 days is doable for just about anybody. You might just need to learn how to make juice.
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing that you can find tons of blogs about how to do that.
Yeah, or I'll put the plug out there. Like if you're in Waterville, Juiced in Hollowell does my program. They'll do 5 days of supply all of your fresh juice for $100, which honestly is nothing. That's $20 a day. It's all organic, right? And if you aren't in Waterville, if you're somewhere else in some big city, I would go to your local juice bar and say, hey, I want to do this cleanse. Do you have a deal? Can you give me a deal? And just, share with them like, oh, I heard of a deal like this, because a lot of juice places need your business. You don't make very much money selling fresh organic juice. So what I find is that they're, because I've done this in different cities, right? I find that they're always very happy to accommodate. So, and I also find that it's, when you're cleansing, you don't really want to be like juicing and shopping for grocery, and cleaning and all that stuff. So it's really, really nice if you have the money to just pay somebody, they give you your juice.
Yeah, that sounds like a good way to go.
Yeah.
Okay, so we will get some show notes. We've been a little slow getting our show notes and everything together for these, but we will we'll link to your site, Dr. Mari, and folks, if you are local in the Central Maine area, please contact Dr. Mari and let her know if there's a way that she can help you get started on your detox program or whatever other health condition you have. If you feel like your healthcare isn't as good as it could be, then by all means start contacting some other doctors and naturopaths.
Yeah.
To see how much healthier you can be. So,
yeah.
All right. Anything else that I didn't ask that would be important to this conversation?
Well, I saw in the notes that you gave me before that you wanted to ask about like a kind of like a success story.
Oh, definitely.
So I guess I'll just say before I talk about a couple success stories that, fasting obviously is really good for anything digestion related. So IBS, chronic constipation, chronic diarrhea, which is one of the ones I'll talk about. Anything with the skin, like psoriasis is a great one that gets healed by cleansing, hypertension, right? Type 2 diabetes. So those kinds of things are the really, really common ones. And the ones that, psoriasis a lot of times is something that your doctor's like, well, you're always going to have it. So, right. One of my success stories is with my patient, a male. He came to my office. He's 62, has had diarrhea his entire life. So I'm like, wow, it took you 60 years to come in. But other than the diarrhea, is a very active, healthy person. He also had depression and had been on antidepressants for about 10 years when he came to see me. So first thing that we did was the cleanse, the reboot program. After that, he didn't have any diarrhea, but he wasn't ready to say that he was healed yet because he told me like, oh, in the past, he's had some days where he didn't have diarrhea. So, wasn't ready to admit that yet. Right. And we did run blood work also and find out that he was extremely sensitive to dairy and gluten. And because of that, he had a whole other array of food sensitivities. So anyway, he did the cleanse. That was the start of his health journey. And 2 months later, he hasn't had one episode of diarrhea, and we're taking him off his antidepressants because his mood has changed so significantly.
That's
right.
amazing.
I think one of the things that a lot of people don't know, that's not common knowledge, is that your gut bacteria and the state of your gut really affects your mental, emotional being. Like 90 to 95% of your serotonin, which is your happy hormone, is made in your gut.
Wow.
So if your gut is unhappy and your digestive tract is unhappy and you don't have the right bugs, then I see anxiety and depression all the time as a manifestation of gut issues. So that was one really amazing success story. After 60 years, he healed in just 2 months, which, that's like, a split
to
second.
get off the pharmaceuticals is just so good, because again, it's just another source of toxicity. So
Exactly.
yeah, I mean,
And then I've had people with fibromyalgia pain, Lyme disease, who do a cleanse and get relief from their pain. Generally, one cleanse doesn't totally get rid of everything, but in Hawaii, when I was running the water fasting retreat there, I had a patient who came with chronic Lyme, and she was having multiple seizures a day. She came in a wheelchair because she was no longer able to walk and use her legs. And after she did a 7-day water fast, she was seizure free, and she was up out of the wheelchair, walking and running. I remember her running up the stairs and crying because, she hadn't done that in so long, and it was just, so freeing to have her body back. Yeah. So that was it feels like magic, right? Feels like magic. But
yeah, because when you're not healthy, you can just feel like a prisoner,
in your body.
this body.
Yeah.
So I've definitely seen it too many times.
Yeah. So I guess I didn't. Huh?
I was just going to say, it's so awesome that you stumbled on this early and were able to expand on all your experience and knowledge in fasting, and detox, so that you can help so many people. That's just
a joy to bring it to people. So yeah, I love doing this kind of stuff, answering questions. And
it's obvious that you're very passionate about what you do, which is something that I would look for in a doctor. So
yes.
Very good.
Okay.
All right. Well, if there's no other last questions, we will wrap this up. We've definitely gone over our 30-minute mark, but I want to thank you so much for joining us. We're going to, in the comments, we'll put links to your website, and folks can contact you right through there with questions, I assume.
Yep. Thanks so much.
Very good. All right, Dr. Mari, take care. Have a great night.
Have a good night.
Who joined us
Bye,
live in the future, thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.